The dog days of winter. In the past couple of years, my house became the place to hang out for me and all of my friends. This is due to the fact that it is not far from everyone's house. It is close by to a couple popular venues, and my parents didn't mind the company. We usually just sat around in the garage for the sake of being outside, but my house had some plumbing problems, so we had to vacate that area. Some of my buddies were scared of my dogs, so we never spent time inside the house. For these reasons, we moved our shenanigans out to the shed. As winter was approaching, the need to keep equipment in the shed became imminent. Lo and behold came the idea of building a second story onto my shed. Building of the second story started as an idea, then became an opportunity to apply some of our learning from past experiences. We experienced controversy and tough situations, but it was all worth it in the end. The days of hanging out in the bottom of the story shed were packed with nonsense, shared by the company of my close friends. We were always finding new ways to waste time when we had nothing to do. We came up with a nail game which required us to take turns driving a nail into a board. Whoever got the nail in all the way first won the game. Another one that we played, which we also came up with, was the hook game. This is where we would look for items in the shed in which we could toss a medium-sized hook at and try to get them to hang on. Clearly some of the ideas we had were odd, but we always had a blast. It was all thanks to these wild ideas that we first came up with the idea of building another floor. My friends and I are all very capable people who have a collective amount of knowledge about building a structure. We did this type of work in a class that we all took together in high school called Stagecraft, where we built the sets for the school plays. We also helped out at my friend Matt's house when his family built a new pole barn. These two sources provided us with much of the know-how when it came to a construction job such as this one. We took some rough measurements and priced it out, planning to split the cost among the six of us. The number was not very high, so everyone agreed that it would be a fun thing to do and that they would pitch in. Each of us played an important role, as everyone had special connections of ways to get a good majority of the materials we needed for free or at a low cost. The idea was starting to come to life. For a little while I was the only person who didn't want to go through with it, due to the fact that it was a fairly outrageous idea and that it would be going on at my house. This meant that I would always be the host, always be held responsible for everyone, and always have to clean up after everyone. My friends were always trying to convince me to go through with it, but I still felt a little bit uneasy about the situation. I ran the idea by my parents so that if I did decide to change my mind and go with the idea, I would already have permission. Finally, one day, as my friend Matt and I were out and about, I had a change of heart. I decided that I was alright with the idea and that we were going to go through with it. We went and bought materials for the wall that afternoon and started building the same night. We ended up finishing the majority of the project just before the brisk winds of winter hit. We were not able to finish the siding with the cold weather making the material brittle and easy to crack. We installed insulation and got a heater so that we could relax at a comfortable temperature. We weren't able to keep it as warm as we wanted all the time, but we still made do with what we had. We got a couch from someone who was throwing theirs away since we weren't looking for anything perfect. The interior slowly began to take shape as new items were always being added. We ran electricity out there so that we could have lights, a ceiling fan, and outlets. Someone brought a door hanger basketball hoop that they won in a gifts exchange. Johnny built a coat rack and shelf in wood shop. I bought some man cave decorations at a thrift store. The idea that we once had when we were only fantasizing had now become everything that we pictured it would be. Something that struck me as a little bit odd about the finished product was the diverse opinions of neighbors and other people. Some we were very impressed by our hard work ethic and skills to pull off such a feat when we were just a couple of silly high school kids. Others didn't quite understand the idea behind why we felt the need to take on a project such as this one. Some even thought the whole idea was just flat out dumb. Even my dad, who gave me permission to use his shed, started to have mixed feelings about it. There was a brief period of time where we thought he was going to make us take it down after hearing some of the negative input from others. He started asking me if I was positive that I didn't need a permit to build such a structure. He wanted me to call a city inspector to come out to take a look at it. I did my homework on the subject, however, showing him that none of this was needed and explaining how we built the structure safely and securely. During the fall, my good friend Cody and I would get the gang together for a fire every Friday night at my house. Once the cold weather hit, we moved the party to the half plywood, half siding, half painted shed. Halfway through the winter, however, I started a new job where I would leave in the afternoon on Friday and be gone all weekend. This meant that we couldn't continue our traditional weekend event. The best idea that we came up with was to hang out every Thursday night instead. There was a never dull moment during these times. Many good talks were had, and memories were made. The laughs were impossible to cease, and we didn't want it any other way. The days in the shed slowly began to die out once the spring and summer weather came around. Around the same time, the job that I was working came to an end. Our lives started to change in little ways here and there, so we weren't able to keep up the weekly get-together, but we'll always remember the good times we had in the shed. The second story shed is a place that means a lot to me because it brings me back to all the memories that I made with my friends in our senior year of high school. The hard work and effort that went into it is unforgettable. If we weren't working or at school, we were always in the shed. With the previously discussed job that I was working, I was able to cherish all of these moments so much more. My life became a routine with the shed right in the center of it. Being gone all weekend, every weekend, I didn't want anything other than to just spend some time with my buddies before and after a grudging weekend of hard work. I loved to tell them the stories of the weekend when I got back, and everyone loved to hear them. The days spent in the shed are not over, however. Once this upcoming winter hits, we plan to spend plenty of time just shooting the bull and having a good time. Something that will always remind me of the days I spent up there is the job that I was working. I will be starting this job back up again, and I don't know what it's going to be like considering it's a whole different time than when I worked last. The shed and this job both revolved around each other, just like the earth does the sun. One simply does not work without the other. Having the opportunity to relax and have fun before and after a weekend of hard work in a place that you take so much pride in is truly a feeling that is tough to explain. Every time that I step back into that incense-smelling, cramped corner shed, these memories come right back to me, and it makes me feel nothing but grateful to be able to have shared these experiences in the shed with some of the closest people in my life.